Well, there's one of the most picturesque settings for a Scottish rugby match anywhere around the country. The Middle Eildon Hill is one of the backdrops to the Southern Knights home ground. The Greenyards, of course, and that's where we are for the third and final match in round one of the Super 6 series. The FOSROC Super 6 series has brought us two splendid matches so far, and we certainly hope that this will be no exception. The sides, of course, met in the sprint series back in April, and Watsonians, who went on to win the sprint competition, were winners that day by 29 points to 20. Nathan Chamberlain scoring 15 of Southern Knights 20 points. He's not part of the Southern Knights side this afternoon. They'll need to look elsewhere for players that can show a little bit of flair and class to defeat a Watsonian side that will come into this game buoyant after winning that Super Series Championship. As you can see, there's a little bit of a breeze around the Greenyards, but there's some wispy clouds as well overhead, but otherwise a perfect afternoon, late afternoon for a match of this calibre. I'm delighted to say I'm joined once again by Ruaridh Jackson, and Rory, we're talking there about two excellent games, excellent adverts for the Super 6, the start of the new competition with the Ayrshire Bulls, who of course beat Southern Knights almost exactly a year ago now to win the inaugural competition. They defeated Heriots last night. It was a win, of course, as well for Boroughmuir a little bit earlier on this afternoon, and this one is another mouth-watering contest about to get underway.
Yeah, definitely, and it looks like a cracking day down in Melrose, so hopefully some good rugby on show. Boroughmuir with maybe a bit of an upset up at Bridge Hall, and Ayrshire getting onto a pretty expected win as well, so it's this one could hopefully throw some interesting clashes into the mix.
Well, we talked about that game in April involving Nathan Chamberlain, but also Billy Wara was on the score sheet that day. He is part of the Southern Knights starting lineup this afternoon. Let's take a look at the 15 and the players on the bench. It's a debut for Aidan Cross that comes in at fullback. Patrick Anderson, big season for Patrick as well, because he's been given a few opportunities at a higher level, and clearly a player whose origins are down in Duns will want to show what he can do alongside Billy Wara. Cal McGee and Callum Grieve will be the creators, and a big season as well for Fraser Rennick, because he dipped his toes into the professional water, so to speak, back in January with a short-term deal at Edinburgh, and he'll want to captain the side to some improved form after a disappointing sprint.
Yeah, definitely, and they've also got some good experience in the likes of Grant Shields there, so these guys will really need to lead from the front and bring these younger guys through and just showcase what they're about.
Watsonian side this afternoon as well, they've got international experience there in the form of South Africans and New Zealanders in their side. Dom Coetzee starting at fullback, Harrison Courtney, the New Zealander, in that front row alongside Campbell Wilson and Cole Lamberton. Jason Baggett, of course, he scored that memorable interception try in the game against Stirling County to secure victory for Watsonians in the sprint series back in the early spring, and he's a player that, of course, Rory, that will know the Greenyards so well, having come to Scotland and really bedded into Scottish rugby through a number of seasons with Melrose.
Yeah, sort of he came over and established himself at Melrose and worked his way up, and then got his pro contract, so he's played a number of games here and knows it well, and he'll be wanting to score a few points and cause an upset coming back on his return. And
Neil Irvin Hess also very familiar with the Greenyard surroundings, the Watsonians number 8. There is a picture from the halfway line at the North Eildon, as you see one or two spectators still drifting into the Greenyards for this fixture this afternoon, and it's a sort of tale of two sets of fortunes for these sides, who obviously played as recently as the beginning and middle of June, with Watsonians, making some changes, strengthening the squad, but they have that buoyancy about them because they've won the sprint series, but they know that this is the bigger of the two competitions. Southern Knights, it's been a very interesting 12 months for them, runners up in the inaugural overall competition, but a very disappointing spring they've had.
Yeah, exactly. So they'll be wanting to bounce back after that and showcase what they were about from last year. Obviously getting to that final, but I think Watsonians will probably come here with a high expectations that they can come away with a result and get off to the best possible start and carry on that form from that sprint series.
And perhaps understandably, not too many spectators opting to sit in the main stand at the Greenyards this afternoon, opting to take positions around the pitch where they can stand safely because of the sunshine. It's quite a warm, pleasant afternoon, but they're an indication of the breeze. The Southern Knights flag up the main stand pole at the Greenyards, beginning to flutter somewhat, but nothing to trouble any of the kickers this afternoon. How do you see this one then panning out? You know, it's the pitch is obviously in excellent condition. The artificial surface is one of the best around. It's certainly going to play its part, I'm sure, this afternoon. But I'd imagine there's the potential there for it to be a very quick game at times.
Yeah, definitely. It's one thing that you can be guaranteed when playing on artificial, is that the speed of ball and the footwork and the ability to move at pace is always going to be there. You're not going to be bogged down. So it should be a good balanced game. Get some forwards, get some tempo over the gain line, and then get those backs moving. I think Jason Baggett will be relishing coming back here and getting a chance to get one over, although the Southern Knights, not Melrose, but coming back to his old home ground. So I think it'll be a close game, I think, obviously, but I think Watsonians could certainly be coming here with full confidence that they could maybe pick up a win in the first game of the season. Yeah,
there's understandable connections between the two clubs. They are intrinsically linked, of course. We also got a little glimpse into the press box there, those sitting behind those yellow framed windows looking down, looking to report, as we will, on the proceedings this afternoon. And almost a glimpse there of the policeman's corner at the Greenyards. A few people beginning to make their way into that raised banked area to watch the fixture this afternoon. A reminder, of course, the third and final fixture of the weekend, the opening weekend of the new FOSROC Super6 series, with Heriot's winners last night, rather Ayrshire Bulls, I beg your pardon, winners last night over Heriot's by 33 points to 17. Ayrshire Bulls winning, the champions getting off and running with a good victory. And of course Boroughmuir winners away from home against Stirling County, who themselves had a good sprint series. So the Bulls and the Bears are off to a fine start. What can the Knights do against Watsonians? The medics and replacements making their way out of what's quite a tight area to come out of the changing rooms at the Greenyards onto the playing surface. And match referee this afternoon is Johnny Perriam. You heard us testing the referees mic a little earlier on, and he was in fine form. And Ross Maben is alongside Digby Thomas as two of the assistants today, of course. We touched on the captaincy of Fraser Rennick. Sib Cecil also a big season and a big opportunity for the 23-year-old captaining Watsonians. Of course, going back a few years, Nottingham's Young Player of the Year back in 2019-2020, and he's been around Myerside for 2 years now. So at that age, with a couple of years at Myerside under your belt, you'll want to really, set the tone and show what you can do.
Yeah, definitely. So in the last game, the back row battle was one of the key facets to the game, and Boroughmuir won that and got the edge. So if he can lead from the front and lead that forward battle and get some good ball, get some quick ball and get some turnover ball, then he's going to get his team in the right place.
And two relatively familiar faces out of the Watsonian changing rooms. First there, as we mentioned, Jason Baggett, and also Neil Irvin Hess, the Watsonians number 8, and warm applause as well as the Southern Knights players coming out. They're all in black for this fixture, with Watsonians in the familiar maroon and white, and it looks as if Watsonians have won the toss. They will get this match underway. In excellent conditions, these players have enjoyed that sprint series, some perhaps more than others given the respected fortunes of the clubs, but they'll be happy to get underway once again. And this the first of matches that will come thick and fast for these players between now and the middle of October. Again, it is then 4:30 on a Saturday afternoon. First round of the FOSROC Super6 series, the summer of 2022. Baggett's kick is gathered early pitches then for the Southern Knights.
Use it, 9-9.
On the edge of the 22. Early touch there for Kyle McGee. Launched forward. 3 Watsonians players are back, just protecting that 10-metre line. able to make some ground. Murray Scott in position very early on towards the ball carriers. There's Scott once again, back through the hands of Baggett, rather flat pass, looking to bring some width into play out on that right hand side is Neil Irvin Hess. Up and over halfway, tackled there by Wara, the Fijian. Recycle ball, in goes Scott, the scrum half once again, looks to recycle on towards Baggett, tries the crossfield kick, comes off one of the Southern Knights players' foreheads, back into Watsonian's arms, and a strong carry there with determination from Connor Eastgate. Carpenter, ex-Watts Academy of course, pinged down into that 22. The mark is called by Aidan Cross, making his debut. And Watsonian's players, perhaps more so than Southern Knights, is getting a feel of the ball early on as they work out the conditions, the strength of the wind and the flow of the game.
Yeah, some good early possession from Watsonians, and interesting to see Jason Baggett looking to sit back deep in the pocket a few times and trying to ping those corners. Ground he knows well, but they did look dangerous when they shifted the ball. So maybe you'd think that they can maybe shift it a wee bit more and then kick in the ascendancy.
Throw will be taken by Campbell Wilson. Just on that 10, a little bit of movement in the line. One well there. Cecil and Irvin Hess, likely candidates to win balls in the line, carried up and just beyond the 10. Scott then looks to recycle ball. Lovely one-handed offload there, and a good carry here by Campbell Wilson into that 22. Eventually tackled, picked up by Baggett once again. It's a good solid carry this time by Carl Main. Scrum half, Scott goes in once more. Looks to offload towards Baggett. Little reverse pass from Baggett. Back towards Scott there. And is protected over the ball. Southern Knights on the defensive at the moment, taken on by Main once more. One of two players with the sky blue scrum caps on, the other being Jamie Beresford in the second row. Scott has it again, looks at inside centre. Eastgate has already had a run, so to Kutsia. Into the 22 goes the fullback. He's tackled. Hess over the ball. Scott now comes and protects and offloads like a scrum half would. And Harrison Courtney, the New Zealander loose head prop, is able to gather some ground. Offside decision given against Southern Knights, and Watsonians are coming again once more. Scott now on again through the hands quickly. Baggett has it, aiming towards the line. In behind him there was Lewis Ball. There's a good carrier. Scott on now to the second row forward. Beresford, we mentioned Beresford earlier. The referee playing a fair period of an advantage there, having earlier given the penalty for the offside decision. Back it will come. 3 minutes gone. The thoughts of Ruaridh Jackson.
Watsonians moving the ball really nicely. Some really good interchange between Eastgate and Baggett. Connor Eastgate did grow up a bit of a 10 when he was down at Wasps, so kind of have a pivot at 10 and 12 there, which they're moving the ball really nicely, and Scott at 9 is looking really sharp and dangerous. So Southern Knights guard shield A needs to be really diligent there and make sure he doesn't get too much space, because he looks like a bit of a live wire.
Yeah, edge of the lines, you please, guys.
Back into the corner.
Edge of the lines,
then with the throw in. Over comes Campbell Wilson. He's already been busy. You'll get the instructions from Harrison Courtney. So Wilson then into the line, towards the middle of the line. Taken well, they look to join in the drive. They've got a bit of momentum here from 5-6 metres from the line. Still they're going, pressing and probing. Dangerous times for Southern Knights. No scoring, 4 minutes gone, but peppering the line. Scott goes in, has a little look. The ball is available now. Scott with the offload on towards Baggett. Again, the Watsonians players are just trying to adjust the position inside that Southern Knights 22. You see how close they are to the line as Beresford carries. Scott again. Scott once more just goes in, has a little look, adjusted the position there of Baggett on towards Eastgate, was wrapped up very quickly in the tackle. Ball comes back on the Southern Knights side. Another sharp blast from the referee's whistle there. Southern Knights players going in off their feet. The interpretation there of that sequence from Johnny Perryman, and I think the player in question there was perhaps Robbie Chalmers. Another Baggett kick to the corner.
Yeah, he was unlucky there. It was a good initial turnover, and then just came off his feet. Whether it was maybe after he'd got the ball up, it was maybe a tight call, but got to be squeaky clean there.
Guys, please, step.
Watsonians will really be keen for a score here after some really good early pressure and some good play.
So another throw in from a similar position. Campbell Wilson very close to that 5 metre line. Once again, one well in the air. Scott's in position if required. Walking forward, getting closer to the play now. But the splinter run takes him up towards the line. It's been snatched. It was knocked forward and dislodged, and Southern Knights have done well defensively. Back towards Wara on this left-hand side. They will scamper down and up and over the 22. It was a real team effort to try and get them going there, and a good run by Eden Cross up towards the 22. Offloaded now. Back it will come clear downfield. McGee was in good position. It's launched downfield but gathered by Coetzee, and Watsonians will look to try and come again. Up and over halfway they go. 6 minutes on the clock. Southern Knights living dangerously as Scott once again looks to find ball carriers. This time it's Main, the back row forward, the open side flanker. Scott once more has a little loop back towards Baggett there. Aiming for one of the corners. One again just adjusts his position in the 22.
Hold Black, hold!
And Fijian launches it forward this time.
Thank you, well done.
Gathered by Baggett in the sunshine. Grubber kick just across that 22, scampering after it. Knights have 2 players back.
Yeah, all on.
Kick downfield, perhaps a slight deflection there, making a bit of a difference. Baggett once more from hand. Lengthy kick. Gathered there by the Knights number 9, Kyle McGee.
Hold back.
He's got time to try and measure a kick to touch towards the front portion of the stand at the Greenyards. Almost 7 minutes of the first half have come and gone. No scoring between the sides, but Watsonians certainly having much more of the ball and much better territory in the game so far. Maybe somewhat disappointed they don't find themselves in front.
Yeah, definitely. I think very, very close to scoring, but spilling the ball. It was a good rip. Didn't quite catch it, but great turnover on the line by the Knights. But both teams really feeling each other out. Nobody really wanting to take the game by the scruff of the neck, and a lot of kick in. So be interested to see how they settle into the game.
Hold.
Cecil this time winning the ball in the line. Back it comes there to Campbell Wilson.
6 away now,
Carl
6
Davis incidentally is on the bench as the replacement hooker for Watsonians. Wilson's sort of one-handed offload. It's a grubber kick played through this time by Angus Guthrie down the side there. Bit of football played by Eden Cross as it's back up towards Jamie Beresford. Beresford now towards that 10 metre line. Scott recycling ball once more back to the inside centre. Eastgate ping forward, bounces once into touch. 8 minutes on the clock. Watsonians still with play inside the Southern Knights half of the field. Knights have had little or no possession through hands inside Watsonians territory, but neither side anything to show for their efforts so far. It remains close.
Thank you.
Yeah, Watsonians have definitely been on top in terms of possession, but lots of kicking going on. Really quite like one of the teams just to really just have a crack at it. I think Watsonians have had a couple of opportunities to really keep the ball in hand and build pressure, but whether they've got that game plan just to really try and pin back down the Southern Knights, they're certainly sticking to it if that is what they're trying to do.
Don't change your mind.
Alan Ferry started off as a rugby player with Newton Stewart, who won the ball in the line out there.
Good.
Rennick with the initial drive for the Knights, and they're looking to work it down this right hand side now. Patrick Anderson up and over halfway with a good solid offload, but it breaks down at the second time of asking when they work it through the hands. Luz Berg just intercepting that Southern Knights break, but that was better from the Southern Knights, and good work from Anderson at close quarters with Kyle McGee up in support. Watsonians back in position right on halfway. This is Scott, feeds the ball back to Baggett, pings the kick into space, and it's gathered there by Aidan Cross, who was able to adjust his position. Pings it down to his opposite number, the South African Dominic Coetzee, and he angles a kick downfield. Finds touch, and Billy Wara watching that all the way as there's a glimpse of Dominic Coetzee, the South African. Of course, Jason Baggett mentioned as well, Cape Town born. Harrison Courtney of New Zealand, international fuel and flair to this Watsonian side. Rennick with the throw, and then there's the instructions coming by way of his vice-captain Grant Shields. Rennick mentioned his brief spell with Edinburgh at the start of the year. And a hard job captaining the Southern Knights side during the sprint series. Back it goes this time to Callum Grieve. He launches a tasty kick that is garnered just on the edge of that 22. Now off and running goes Loman McPherson, but he's slowed up.
Leave it. Yes, well done.
Beyond that 22. Back it comes once more. Carl Main into the tackle. This is Scott, scrum half. And it's played from the edge of the 22 down and once more over halfway. On now to the big, powerful Fijian figure of Billy Wana, who scored in that 29-20 defeat to Watsonians back in April in the sprint series. He's back to his feet. So too is the Southern Knights number 8, Sam Derrick, who was up in support. Penalty awarded this time to the Southern Knights, with Watsonians not rolling away. It'll be interesting to see what the Knights up to do here with 11 minutes on the clock. And this carry from Jamie Campbell, the second go forward.
In theory.
And there the referee penalising Watsonians. And the inside centre there, Conor Eastgate, last to his feet.
Sorry? Just it's where everyone is. Just
first bit of possession for the Knights in the opposition half, and see another sort of good old-fashioned Gary Owen go up. Don't see that very often. But yeah, turning some pressure, and then good chance to get the first points of the game. So does sound a bit blustery, so it'll be interesting to see what sort of direction it really is.
Still stay behind, please, guys.
Blowing, and if you can get the first points.
It is Callum Grieve. It was a classic Gary Owen. It was a very tasty, inviting kick that the chase was on. Watsonians under a bit of pressure on the edge of the 22.
Yeah, you can reset it.
The ball just topples off the tee. So Grieve under a little bit more pressure now against the clock. But he wasn't running forward to strike the ball when it toppled off the tee. So he has to go through his routine, be mindful of the clock. Here he goes then to get the opening points of the afternoon. 22. And that drifts just wide of the uprights there. A pretty clean strike there. Was plenty of height on the ball. Couldn't have been too far away from the Southern Knights fly half, but it remains scoreless. Almost 13 minutes of the match gone.
Let's get going.
And an early tester there for the Southern Knights fly half. Game will resume inside that Watsonians 22. Baggett, relatively straight kick downfield. Now and on come the chasers. But Knights again have it once more.
Leave it!
Cameron Scott taking the ball into contact, mocked up by McGee. On this time towards Grant Shields. Shields wrapped up in the tackle there from Carl Main. In goes McGee once more, tries to make some ground. Offloaded there to his skipper Fraser Rennick. McGee in behind the hooker. On this time towards Grieve, will be disappointed to have missed the uprights there. Billy Warren is trying to play a little bit of football as the handling just goes astray. And the Knights perhaps somewhat frustrated that they couldn't make that a more clean and cohesive move, as they have enjoyed a couple of minutes now inside the Watsonians half of the field. But both sides, if anything, Rory, it's been quite a tentative opening 14 minutes of the game.
Yeah, it definitely feels like the first game of the season. It's both teams trying to really feel their way into the game, not too much fluidity, not wanting to take too many risks. So hopefully the game will kick into life shortly. It was a bit like this in the previous game, and it took a wee while to really get into it, but really need someone to take the game by the scruff of the neck and pull the team with them, but it's been a bit scrappy so far.
Watsonians scrum half then, Murray Scott into that scrum. And indicator on the set piece then. Nice offload, carried forward by Lewis Berg, up close towards halfway. Berg again, a player with plenty of experience now. Baggett, and then towards Eastgate. He launches it with the left foot there, close towards the touchline. Was Aidan Cross, and he pinged that one down the line. He was mindful of his position. That's gone out on the full as he tried to launch it from the edge of his 22. So disappointed with that one as he makes his way back for defensive duties. Watsonians will have the throw in as play resumes on the edge of the Southern Knights 22, just a fraction inside. 15 minutes on the clock, no scoring. Just that missed penalty goal from Callum Grieve.
Step please onto the AR.
Harrison Courtney over with the instructions then to Campbell Wilson. Wilson then looking for adjustments in the line. 11 Hess. One-handed and then gathered the ball in.
He's caught it with the outside arm. What do you want? Scrum.
Wasn't a clean straight throw.
It is now inside.
By Johnny Perriam, the match referee.
Sorry, I can't give you that. He put it out there.
It's
just inside.
There.
It's inside, please, mate.
Who can appealing his case that it wasn't too skew with.
Great first scrum. Great standard. Great first scrum.
Having none of it. It's another scrummage, this time on the edge of the Southern
Great first
Knights.
scrum, guys. Same again.
22. What are your memories of the Greenyards as a player? Or even as a spectator? What was your favourite Greenyards memory?
Some good and some bad.
Bind!
Did win down there with when I was playing with when I was younger. Probably my fondest memories were probably as a kid coming down and watching the Melrose Sevens. Got a lot of family down in Melrose, so we'd be down pretty much most years for the Melrose Sevens. And sadly, I've never played in it. It's a competition I would have loved to have played in, but yeah, plenty of fun memories watching it.
Of course, the British Army were winners of the Melrose Sevens back on the 9th of April.
Okay, water break. Balls away. We need to find one. So let's do a quick water. Quick water.
An opportunity for
the
carriers to come on, and I think it looks as if the players will appreciate this opportunity just to reset after
just a quick minute, guys. That's all it is. Quick minute.
Tentative opening, 16.5 minutes on the clock, and as you mentioned, Rory, just a classic case of these sides opening at their new season with a performance like this, where they haven't got the cohesion and the fluidity that you'd perhaps expect after 3, 4, 5 weeks, with it being just the opening 16 minutes of a new season.
No, exactly. It's going to be interesting to see which team really decides to try to break out a bit. Both are playing a bit of cat and mouse. Watsonians certainly have a game plan to try and take the Knights back. They've got the right and left foot kickers with Baggett and Eastman in the centre as well, so it'll be interesting to see if they do try and shift it and start throwing the ball about, but it's definitely been a tensive start from both sides.
Successful winning the ball in the line at this time. Watsonians looking to try and inject a little bit more urgency, with Baggett controlling the phase of play there through the hands. This is Scott now, has a look at his options, taken on by Eastgate, through the hands to Baggett once more. Baggett playing some crash ball, running into Aidan Cross. Fullback goes to Dex, recycled again, and on goes Harrison Courtney, the New Zealander. Scott in behind the scrum half, on towards Eastgate, inside centre. He picks up once more on that 10-metre line.
Away back!
Watsonians just trying to lead from the front at the moment.
Gotta move.
Penalty this time going against Southern Knights, just on the edge of that 10. Baggett
on the wrong side,
gotta move. Possession of the ball.
Yeah. Just when you're ready, man, it's just in front of the 10 metre. If you land on the wrong side, you've got to move.
Clip again. As that was some solid carries there from Watsonians as they were trying to splinter their way through the Southern Knights defence, find perhaps that chink in the armoury. Again, no option to kick this time for Baggett, kicking for goal, going for the corner, and once more Campbell Wilson will throw in. This area of the park you'd be very, very familiar with, because there have been 3 or 4 lineouts from almost exactly this position.
Stay there, guys. Stay there.
Yeah, they'll be hoping to be a wee bit more clinical this time. A bit better phase play by Watsonians there. Some nice interplay, so Baggett actually working out the back of a play, so definitely some interplay between him and Eastgate, which is interesting. But if they can be a bit more fluid here, they'll certainly be looking to try and take the first points of the game.
It's the Lock Lewis ball that wins the ball in the line out this time.
Ball's there.
Watsonians secure in possession again inside that 22. Ball perhaps the option, but it's the New Zealander Courtney initially carries. Scott in behind again, has a little look at the option. Seb Cecil, the captain, in that back row, blindside. Ball goes loose, comes back to Watsonians' hands there. Cole Lamberton straightens up. Lamberton's taking a sore one. He's flat out on the turf at the moment as it's been snarled away. Rory Knott taking the ball into contact. The referee quite rightly then looking back in the direction of Cole Lamberton, who as soon as he made contact there, you could see that was a sore one for the tight head prop. Real solid collision, and he's feeling the full effects of that.
I agree with you, mate. I haven't seen anything there.
So that the referee, Johnny Perriam, quite rightly stopping play so that Cole Lamberton can receive attention straight away.
certainly a big hit, and I think it's from the 10 Grieve, so it'd be interesting to see if there was any contact to the head. It certainly wasn't malicious, it was just a big physical hit, I think. Can't really see from that angle, but hopefully the big fella's alright.
It will be me, yeah.
He's
I appreciate
dazed, it seems, as he's rolling on the turf there. But as you see, the referee quite rightly stopping play to ensure all care and attention.
You have to go to the side if you want it.
My way of Cole Lamberton.
So instead of guys coming on, there's only 2 per half now. You can go to the side if you want.
Watsonians, though, trying to pick some fine lines through this Southern Knights defence, as we see it from just behind the Southern Knights posts. There once again is the collision. And the referee by this stage was aware of the situation, player behind him, and there he blows to bring play to a halt.
You could go over if you want.
An indication as well of those that are below our camera crew at the Greenyards, alongside a number of spectators inside the main stand watching this final instalment of the opening weekend of the FOSROC Super 6 series. The referees had a very tidy start to the match as well. It's been quite a straightforward 19 minutes for Johnny Perriam and his 2 officials this afternoon, Ross Maben and Digby Thomas.
Yeah, no, the refs have been good so far. I thought both refs today seem to have good relationships with the players, willing to have a chat and conversation, but ultimately they do make the decisions, and it is their word. The teams have also been respectful, but chatting and trying to understand what their point of view on things are. So it's good to see, and yeah, it's been good standards so far. And it's just obviously a bit of a delay for the head injury, and quite right, taking all the precautions. And I imagine we won't see Cole come back on, so it'll be an enforced early change, I imagine. But yeah, I think we both agree that we'd quite like a bit more fluidity to the game. It's been a bit stop-start, but I have been impressed with Scott at 9 for Watsonians. He looks sharp and dangerous.
Guys running
and looks like he'll be a constant threat. So it's been a bit tit for tat. So let's see if the second quarter brings a bit more flair and excitement and some points as well.
And there is Cole Lamberton being applauded off the field. We'll receive an HIA.
It's normally when there's a time off,
Greenyards
time off before, so I thought, we'll just have
medical
it now.
room.
Didn't know
of course, on the bench, they've Carl Davis, Robbie Bratton and Robbie Deans on as cover on the front row for the various front row positions. Watsonians, of course, back in April. They did get a penalty try alongside scoring 3 tries themselves in that 29 points to 20 victory over the Knights. And as we mentioned a little earlier on, of course, the Knights had in their side Nathan Chamberlain that afternoon, who landed 15 points. So they're looking to the creativity in those half-back positions, Grieve and McGee, to perhaps open up chances for the Knights players this afternoon. Scoreless just at the moment. Be another scrummage.
Really good patience in the setup.
And you can see the introduction of Robbie Bratton there, wearing 17. The change for Cole Lamberton and a placement in that front row.
Bind!
Coming forward there was Kyle McGee to feed the ball into the scrum. Just to throw forward to half-time, as well as our analysis, we've also got an exclusive interview with Darcy Graham, talking about his career and looking ahead to the internationals that are coming up, of course, in the autumn. Scotland on the back of that tour of Argentina. I've got some very tasty internationals in both the men's and the women's games. We'll give you more details of what's to come internationally for the respective side, the men's team and the women's team, at half-time, alongside that interview with Darcy Graham. Of course, he started out making his debut for Hawick, I remember, and I think it was the 2015 Cup final against Boroughmuir. So that set him on his way. And these players perhaps looking to take a different pathway to earning some international recognition, whether it be an age grade or a higher level, perhaps in the future.
Watsonians were maybe a wee bit unlucky there. They looked to have the ascendancy in the scrum, and that's about as far as my knowledge goes. But so there's obviously some cheating as to why why there was ascendancy. But Southern Knights haven't taken full advantage of a chance to relieve some pressure, so they'll need to be accurate here with their exit.
Did any of your front row colleagues or any members of the pack share the dark arts of the scrum with you? Or was that just not a conversation they would talk to our back about?
No, I think they're just blagging it as well. They claim it's dark arts. I just don't think anybody has a clue what's going on in there personally.
Back to the action on the pitch. You can see there Murray Scott then feeding the ball out towards Baggett. This once again is Eastgate using that left foot of his as well intelligently. Grubber kick, the 215's got Sia and Cross coming together, Cross protecting his own try line there as Dominic Coetzee, the South African, was scampering down, but very quickly across there. Ross Mayburn raising the flag again. Good grubber kick, but perhaps just a little bit too much on it, too close to the corner as it comes back off those black railings. But it presents another opportunity, a throw in here for Watsonians deeper inside the 22. And when you consider these days that hookers have the capabilities of the throw in, the catch and then the drive, we'll see if Campbell Wilson perhaps stops for this particular tactic, given how close they are towards the line. Well, there's the first instalment, Lewis Ball. Tried to do a little splinter and is snatched immediately by Fraser Rennick. So not on this occasion for Watsonians and for their hooker. And McGee now looking to try and offload. Well, he worked his way around, and that's an excellent clearance downfield, down the tram lines. Didn't find touch, but it's forced Watsonians back almost towards halfway. Solid challenge coming in there from Cameron Scott, and Watsonians again looking there at Murray Scott to ship the ball wide, but it's Watsonians penalised on halfway. Get back to their feet. Dom Coetzee, the last of the players to do so. Fine kick downfield and a fine on-rushing group of players there, providing no exit for the fullback Dominic Coetzee on this occasion, and that's a decent outcome there from the Southern Knights, considering what they were facing about 45 seconds ago.
Oh, 100%, that's a huge win. Great kick from the base. He actually almost got charged down by his own second row trying to come in, I think. So to hit that kick after that was outstanding, and the chase was just equally as good. Cracking tackle in midfield, and then the follow-up to come in and get the turnover to give Grieve another chance at some points. So this is a much bigger, harder kick. So he certainly struck the first one well. So I think he'll have the distance, no drama. Just needs to get that radar dialed in.
Yeah, 5 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon, live coverage, FOSROC Super 6 action. Final match in the opening weekend. There's the electronic scoreboard. Southern Knights 0, Watsonians 0. Could all change depending on the outcome of this Grieve kick. And that's, you can see the strength of the wind there as it swirls around. And he's had 2 efforts, just missed on both occasions. It's played immediately downfield by Watsonians, and now a chance for the Southern Knights to work the ball through the hands in those black jerseys. Solid tackle comes in there once more on Aidan Cross. Is able to try and get the offload away, but no, it's picked up immediately by a determined Wilson. The hooker now on through the hands very quickly. Works out towards that right hand side, and Loman McPherson takes the ball into some traffic. And Iwara stays upright, ripped the ball from his hands, forced him into touch there.
You've got it in touch.
Referee's interpretation, it was Wara who ended up taking the ball into touch, so it will be a Watsonians throw in.
Really, really clearly taking it over the line.
So it was Billy Wara that forced the ball out the hands of the Watsonians player, but into touch, so it provides the throw in. And they still have a scoreless game with 25 minutes of the first half gone. Here once more is Campbell Wilson. Once again, fine throw towards the back of the line. Slightly delayed pass there by Main as he looked at the options coming on, rushing from the infield, and over that 10 they go once more. Scott has it, deflects off the hands there, knocked forward, spotted by the referee. Rennick leading the defensive line there for the Southern Knights. Some disappointment there by his opposite number, on the face of his opposite number certainly. And once more it will be another set piece ball in the hands of Kyle McGee. And really the nature of the first half continues. Two sides that are certainly trying to work their way through the gears, but just unable to get beyond third gear at the moment.
Yeah, just mistakes killing both sides really. I'd say Watsonians will probably be slightly more frustrated, had the better field position, had the better opportunities, but just haven't been able to capitalise. So Southern Knights have sort of dogged it out, had a couple of key turnovers in key positions and exited really well, and have had a couple of opportunities to get that scoreboard ticking as well. So I think Southern Knights will probably be slightly happier at 0-0 just now.
Ball's out.
It's been picked up there by Scott. McGee was watching on there. Baggett this time again up towards the edge of the 22. Tried to offload one-handed there. Scott is able to pick up once more. Driving run on the edge of the 22. Scott has it again. Has a look at the options once more over towards Eastgate. On-rushing players now are coming in thick and fast. Eastgate's centre partner Baird takes the ball in. Now it comes back towards Lewis Ball. He drives and has support immediately behind him. Scrum half is Scott. Scooping down to gather the ball there is Beresford. Loop pass out towards the right hand side, picked up by Kotsia. Neil Irvin Hess, another ex-Melrose player out on that right hand side, goes to deck. Scott in behind him. Watsonians again looking to regroup with Scott once more. Looks to the right, plays the ball towards that left hand side, but it's intercepted. And the referee though, offside. Shrill whistle after another Southern Knights offside decision given against the home team on the edge of their 22. And Watsonians now with 27.5 minutes on the clock will be, I'd imagine, delighted to hear the referee saying that's a second water break, a chance for them to regroup. Southern Knights also. These Watsonians players, of course, leaving the capital on the opening weekend of the Edinburgh International and Fringe Festivals. So they'll be going back to a very, very busy capital city at the conclusion of this game. And they'll certainly look to be going back to Edinburgh with points on the board, but neither side have been able to break down the other.
It's still one of the sort of tight five kind of guys, but it's, yeah, I get it. I'm going to have a word now. Both sides are just then.
I imagine Watsonians will probably opt to have a kick goal to get those key first points, and hopefully that will settle down some nerves. They're definitely growing into the game a wee bit. Watsonians looking far more dangerous, but just that accuracy and composure to get that killer blow still evading them, which is kind of understandable considering it's the first game of the season and they're still trying to fully gel together as a team, but seems like they're slowly grinding through the gears and I think deserve a 3-point lead.
When you were playing at the start of every season, were you always very conscious this was your first game and that you might be rusty and not to necessarily overthink certain things if you were perhaps or your teammates, not you necessarily personally, but your teammates were making some mistakes or were forcing the game a little bit? Did that ever come into your thinking during the game?
Do you want to wait?
Not so much during the game, but you definitely probably do feel your way and just play a bit more sensibly. Just try and get, in my mindset, it would always be about trying to get people into the game early, get early touches, get people confident on the ball and into the shape. But it seems that both these teams seem to feel their way in with kicking, which is another way to do it. You want to get down in the right area, put pressure on, try to get points on the board. It hasn't manifested for either team yet, but I'd certainly say Watsonians are probably edging it ever so slightly at the minute. But yeah, we'll see how the final sort of 10-15 minutes goes.
A few spectators there watching their mobile phones as well. Of course, plenty of sport taking place during the course of this weekend with the conclusion of the Commonwealth Games and of course the start of the Premiership football season in England. Is the applause there to Callum Grieve making his way off. He'll be disappointed to have missed the 2 penalty goal attempts in swirling windy conditions around the Greenyards. Jason Baggett, his opposite number, is currently laying the ball on the tee at the moment. But we're delighted to have you joining us this afternoon on Scottish Rugby's YouTube channel for this final instalment of the opening weekend of the FOSROC Super6 series. Now, can the man who intercepted the Stirling County pass in the last minute of the match, the deciding game in the sprint series, to win the sprint series for Watsonians, to seal that win I should say, can he get them off and running this afternoon? Yes, he can. 27, almost 28 minutes gone, and we finally have a breakthrough, and it's Jason Baggett with his first kick from the tee that opens the scoring for Watsonians, and they lead by 3 points to 0.
You're right. Go on, move out your way.
Yeah, good strike from Jason there. Kicked plenty of goals here before, but first kick of the game, always good to get a fairly straightforward one just to settle that into a rhythm. But it was a great strike, and all the Southern Knights have put in a good kick off here. And, be looking to put some pressure on their Watsonians exit.
Got some depth to it. Kieran Clark, the Scottish under-20 internationalist, another ex-Melrose player, and I remember him having a fine performance in a Waverley Cup tie on Boxing Day a few years ago. He'd probably be no more than 17, 18 at the time. Kieran Clark is the replacement for Callum Grieve, so he's on the park. So both sides have been forced to make changes in the first half, with the replacement, of course, Cole Lamberton off and Bratton on in the front row for Watsonians, that coming a little bit earlier on in the half. Fraser Rennick then, the Southern Knights skipper. Rennick, 25-year-old now, captain the side, throws in and is able to join in the drive. See the ball tucked under that right arm, he's looking up at the referee. Can just about see what is in front of him. McGee in support as well, his scrum half. Digging the boots into that artificial turf.
Use it 9-9.
And Southern Knights have got a bit of a run on here. McGee then takes the pass on from Rennick, his skipper. Slides on the turf, getting close towards that 5-metre line. It's a great opportunity here for the Knights to hit back straight away. Ruaridh Knott caught up in the tackle there. McGee now on very quickly. Those in the front row, Brace and Shields, are up supporting as well, looking to carry. McGee goes down once again, has a little look at the options. It's round by his right foot there. It's picked up now by Ruaridh Knott. Penalty advantage coming. Knott takes the ball into the tackle. And there's a sprinter and break from the number 8, Sam Derrick. Found the gap.
Yeah, I agree.
The space opened up. It was a splinter break from the number 8, Sam Derrick. Takes the applause from the crowd and the congratulations from his teammates there. And we'll get to see it again. He must have had no more than half a gap there to work his way through as one of his teammates on the deck and receiving a little bit of treatment. It is the second row forward, Ruaridh Knott, who is caught up in the tackle. And you see there, picked up number 8. Very, very quick over a short distance as well. On that occasion, Sam Derrick. That's the perfect angle to see the positioning of the back row forward. Comes in, ball bounces kindly, and there's the break. Watsonians perhaps just overshooting the defensive line. The pain on the face of Ruaridh Knott. Delight though for Sam Derrick. And the Knights are in front in a half hour.
Yeah, he reacted well. Ball popped out, hit off his foot, and he was the quickest to react and pounced on it with a good pick up, and he's a great burst of speed as well to get over. So Southern Knights with a sort of opportunistic lead now after a good little bit of pressure there. So the kick just slid past, and so it's just a two-point lead for now.
Kick just as we were saying, just wide off the uprights there. 5 points to 3. So after a very quiet opening 27 minutes or so, the game is beginning to come to life now with Baggett's penalty, and then that try from Sam Derrick. Responding, Southern Knights only behind for the matter of 2-3 minutes, and they find themselves in front by 5 points to 3. Acquirement of a reliable goal kicker is going to be very important for the Knights during the course of the season, and they'll want to certainly land a kick off the tee sooner rather than later, just to ensure that everybody has the confidence that they've got that option to land points from the boot rather than just scoring tries.
Yeah, definitely. It's always good to be able to keep that scoreboard ticking over, and it certainly looked like Grieve had a big boot on him. And it was obviously windy conditions, so his second kick certainly was a cracking shot, but just slid wide. So I actually didn't see whether it was who it was that took over the kick in now that he's gone off, but it was a shame he just missed as well. But they'll be pretty happy though, I think, with the lead after all the pressure they've been under. They'll be hoping Knott stays on as well, because it was a good carry by him that led to that try.
Rory Knott, quite a bit of experience as an ex-Melrose player, of course, as many of these Southern Knights players are, but of course they have recruited from around the borders and further afield. We mentioned the Fijian Billy Wara, we mentioned as well also Patrick Anderson coming from Berwickshire, coming across from Gaventon from the Duns area. So they are certainly trying to be the all-encompassing club within the Scottish borders area.
I'll give you time to get
strong
back.
link to the Greenyards, of course. There's Carl Davis. He's been a very influential figure and a very effective figure as well in the Watsonians ranks, not only during the sprint series but also during the first completed season of the Super6 competition. Of course, we had one that was aborted just before the conclusion of the season due to COVID in 2020. But after Ayrshire Bulls, the reigning champions, defeated the Southern Knights in the final last year, of course the Southern Knights number of changes. Bruce Ruthven is now in as head coach, and we'll know a lot more about the players after that sprint series competition. Watsonians back in possession, trailing by 5 points to 3. On the fringes of the Knights 22. Scott goes in again, on towards Baggett, who landed those points for Watsonians with 28 minutes on the clock. Coetzee wrapped up in the tackle. Scott goes in again, has a look towards the left-hand side, picked up by Wilson, supported there by Bratton. Now taken on once again by the two half-backs there, on towards the Eastgate, inside centre. Eastgate goes to deck, he's able to roll himself into position and bring Scott back into play. Soft hands there from Seb Cecil. Scott once more on towards Baggett. Baggett round the corner there towards Berg. Berg goes on a little run out the back door, picked up there by Callum Wilson. Scott once again, so plenty of opportunities for players to get hands on the ball, and it is loose ball just short of that 22, but Watsonians will look for more cutting edge here as Harrison Courtney, he's stopped in his tracks. Scott, Watsonians finding that 22 a difficult line and difficult area to break through. Ball bounces kindly, the referee though had already spotted out Watsonians knock on 7 minutes to half time. Southern Knights defending manfully just at the moment as Watsonians try and seek a way through that Southern Knights defence as they trail. It's the Knights in front 5-3.
Yeah, Southern Knights will be pretty happy with that defensive set. Look quite comfortable. Watsonians were going through the phases and looking quite good there, but Southern Knights held up well. Conceded a wee bit of ground, but held really firm, kept their shape nicely, and got that turnover. So now they'll be looking for a nice clean exit to get Watsonians back down into their half.
The referee just looking to up the tempo of the game, these set pieces. There's been a few stoppages for injuries during the course of this first half. 6.5 minutes of the half left before we reach the interval. A few highlights now for our editors to work on for the half-time showreel. We'll get another glimpse, I'm sure, of the Sam Derrick try. Jason Baggett penalty, having Watsonians in front for around 3 minutes in the game. Into the scrum then, Kyle McGee picked up there at the base, and once more Watsonians just trying to close the door as Knights work their way down that right hand side. Back it comes again, so Sam Derrick is trying to score overs up on that right hand side. They'll work it back towards McGee. He's got a fine boot on him as well as he's launched that one forward beyond the 10, you can see. Picked up there by Coetzee. Off he goes on a run. Offloads then to the hard-working Guthrie on that left-hand side. Scott up in support, but it's the forwards that are trying to carry with some purpose. Closer towards the 22 they go. Courtney this time is carries forward, still beyond the 10. Scott has it once more through the hands of Eastgate. Tackle there by Rory Knott, who seems to have run off that injury he sustained a little earlier on. Baggett spins round in support as Lewis Berg. Ball goes loose, played forward there by Wara, forcing Watsonians back. They've got 3 players back. Billy Wara now just trying to lead the chase there from the Southern Knights point of view. Knights in front 5-3. Scott has it again, hard working scrum half, runs into the Robbie Chalmers though. Tackle from the outside centre. Back it goes to Scott. Baggett this time from 122 over the Knights 10. And there's the high up and under. Solid chase on here by McGee. McGee gathers, wraps Baggett in the tackle on the edge of the 22. Baggett had time to be able to plant the ball back. Scott was in position. Irvin Hess over the ball at the moment. We'll come back to the ball carriers with Rennick leading the defensive cover this time on the Watsonians 22. Back once more towards Eastgate, who uses that trusted left boot. 4 minutes of the half left to play. Taken well there by Clark. Pass perhaps wasn't the best, but Southern Knights players under no immediate pressure as they work it on the angle there. Good cross running there from Aidan Cross, bringing Billy Warner back into play. Warner goes to deck. Robbie Chalmers is over the ball. This is Chalmers now on towards Rennick. Delicate hand required just on the edge of the halfway line. Protecting the ball once more is McGee on this time towards Cameron Scott, the inside centre. Looking over the ball and McGee once more. We'll look to the options to that right hand side. Cameron Scott electing to play the grubber kick. This time it's picked up by Baggett. Baggett's perhaps a little overconfident there with the pass out the back door. Knocked on by Watsonians' hands. So Southern Knights now through Rory Knott. Certainly trying to work off that injury. Collides with Lewis Ball. Ball forces him back. Scooped up. Rennick has it now. The hooker stays on his feet. Runs into the Watsonians outside centre. Lewis Baird. Makes some ground. No further advantage played by the referee. So opting to cross-field kick there. Cameron Scott is gathered on the edge of the 22 there by Angus Guthrie. He's forced backwards. Wrapping him up in the tackle there was Robbie Chalmers. On the edge of the 22, Watsonians trying to play it out, trying to run the ball out. As you see, we've now just 2.5 minutes of the first half left to play. Launched forward by the Myerside club. 4 back inside the Southern Knights half. Knights now looking to gain some ground here. That was a decent run from Cameron Scott this time. McGee under a little bit of pressure. Scott hacking the ball forward now. Bit of football required here. The kick and chase. Scott, has he got the pace? Will the bounce fall kindly to him? You see the collision coming in there from Robbie Chalmers as well. Chalmers tracing back there at a rate of knots to try everything he could to force the knock on. And you can see, we'll see this again, a fine piece of defensive work from Chalmers, but a bit of opportunism as well from Scott, and he had to back himself. That looked a perfectly weighted kick as well. He was trying to measure the bounce of the ball, but that in effect presented the opportunity for Chalmers to make the tackle, forcing the knock on in that in-goal area.
Yeah, for all money, I thought that was a try. Good tracking back by Chalmers. Scott will be a bit disappointed he didn't manage to keep hold of that over the line, but it just shows you that these new rules are a bit of a strange one with how that becomes a goal line dropout. It's not much reward for a mistake by Watsonians, and look at this now. Southern Knights still in some serious pressure just before half time, which would be a great time for Watsonians to score, but Knights, if they can hold out, will be delighted to go in 2 points up.
And I think you could see there that the Watsonians player Scott was almost appealing that Chalmers may have got a left hand to the ball. I think that's why you could see it instantly. He was appealing for something. I think that may well have been what it was. But Fraser Rennick then throwing the ball into the line, gathered by Alan Ferry. Mentioned the Newton Stuart farmer making great strides now with Southern Knights. McGee again plays the ball downfield. He's certainly able to proof it a fair distance from tight corners that he finds himself positioned in. Times as Scott has it now on towards Eastgate. Baggett again, better offload this time from Baggett to Berg. Berg outside centre. He's tackled and eventually goes to ground inside that 22. You can see he's on that 5 channel. Picked up this time by Carl Main. Watsonians aggrieved, looking for something else before half time. Taken on this time in open play by Bratton. This time it's the inside centre. Eastgate with a floated pass out towards Neil Edmund Hess, and he powers his way across the line. And the 2 scores from the Watsonians players coming from ex-Melrose stalwarts. Baggett with the penalty, Neil Edmund Hess with a try almost on the half-time whistle. He takes the congratulations of his teammates. That was a piece of powerful running from the number 8, and they just spread them just too far, and the Southern Knights defence spread too thin on this occasion. And Neil Irvin Hess was able to power his way past Chalmers and past the Southern Knights defensive cover to score a fine try to give them an 8-5 lead with a kick to come before the interval.
Yeah, it was a lovely pass by Eastgate as well. Put Hess in full stride and in motion. He's a powerful ball carrier, and it was a great finish. Still had a bit to do, but some lovely rugby, lovely pass, and I say great finish as well.
Baggett just adjusting the socks for the ball on the tee. Take his time. He settled into life at the Greenyards a few years ago now. Made his way into a very successful Melrose side who were vying with the likes of Heriots and Ayr for domestic championships and cup finals some years before the introduction of the Super6. And there's an illustration of his quality. That was a fine conversion from close to the touchline that brings the first half to a close. And Watsonians are leading by 10 points to 5 at half time. And Rory, a very quick word before we go to the break and the interview with Darcy Graham. It was a slow burner, 28 minutes, where there was a lot of hard work, but it took that length of time to get the first points.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a classic at the minute, but I think Watsonians deservedly going the lead, going to half time with the lead.
Just mute the two.
Key time to score just for half time as well, so they'll go in a wee bit happier. Both teams have a lot to sort of work on for the second half, but it'll be interesting to see who really comes out firing and maybe has a proper crack at it.
Jason Baggett then with a penalty goal in 28 minutes to give Watsonians the lead. He then converted the Neil Irvin Hess try on the stroke of half time to complete Watsonians scoring in the first half. But Southern Knights enjoyed a spell of possession, a lengthy spell of possession inside the Watsonians 22, which produced the opening try of the contest just beyond the half hour, a fine score from their number 8. So the two number 8s on the score sheet in the first half, and it's Sam Derrick's try that has the Southern Knights points on the board. But Watsonians leading by 10 points to 5. That then the half-time score. But as promised, we've got an exclusive interview coming up now with Darcy Graham, and it's a huge 12 months, of course, for Scotland's men and Scotland's women's team, with the women's playing 2 summer tests against the USA and Spain in Edinburgh before heading to the Rugby World Cup in New Zealand. A fantastic achievement for them, while the men of course have an autumn series including matches against Australia, Fiji, New Zealand and Argentina, and that of course straddling October and November. And next year of course there's the small matter of another Six Nations and the Rugby World Cup in France. Joe Wilson caught up with Scotland winger Darcy Graham to chat about his career to date.
Let's rewind a little bit, Darcy, and just talk about where it all began for you, because you're a Hawick boy. You see so many rugby players associated with coming from Hawick. Is there just something in the air there?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Hawick's produced the most Scotland international players out of any club in Scotland, so I think it's just a very passionate town about rugby. Like I said, when I grew up, all I ever wanted to do was play for Hawick and then play for Scotland.
Who were your inspirations growing up?
So my uncle Scott, he played for Scotland, and I can always mind watching him play rugby, and I always just wanted to do that, and I can always mind going to his house as well, and he had a photo of him lined up against the All Blacks here, and so I just thought that was always so cool and awesome, so I just wanted to do that as well. So then Shane Williams as well, just small winger, kind of like myself, I kind of play similar to him, and yeah, I just always looked up to him.
Yeah, you're part of the academy here as well. How key was that to your development?
Yeah, kind of the Boys Academy, the academy, the whole academy just started when I came in. So it was a huge development. It was a huge step forward for the SRU, and that's kind of what the academy needed. And boys needed that step up because there wasn't anything like that. So the academy was massive. And I wouldn't be here today without it. I
mean, it must have been some feeling when you earned your first cap. Do you remember coming off the bench against Wales? Yeah,
down in Wales, yeah, it's a day I'll never forget. Got on and I got 10 minutes and I was just wanting to get my hands on ball, and I just kind of went looking for the ball and just kind of get into the game, didn't want to let it pass by me. But it was, like I said, a dream come true.
Yeah. And you scored your first try against Wales here at BT Murrayfield. Do you remember it? Can you kind of take me to where it all happened? I mean, I would say we can recreate it, but I'm not sure I'd be a very good stand-in. But yeah, do you remember it? Can you kind of talk me through it a little bit?
It's weird games, like, I don't really, some games like you kind of forget, but it's just you always remember bits of games and stand out. And
so where were you?
The first try was a standout moment, and I was just out on the wing. We had a scrum on the left-hand side, and Finn got the ball and put it back inside to Byron McGuigan, and he done an absolutely amazing run into the centre of the pitch. We then offloaded to Adam, and then Adam gave it to me in the corner, and scored it. I can just remember just everybody piling in on top of me and that absolute buzzing, and that was just it was level the game, and take us into half time level. So yeah, like that buzz, like to score a try at Murrayfield, it's the roof erupted, and it was mad.
Trace for Peter Horn, little switch move, Russell on the inside, here they go, Scotland must score here, and they do through Darcy Graham, and what a sensationally worked move that was.
Darcy, we've walked up to this side of the BT Murrayfield pitch because another big moment here, you set up a great try for Ben White in the Calcutta Cup match against England. Again, just kind of talk us through it. What was going through your mind? What happened?
Yeah, I just got the ball off Hoggy and kind of went through the two defenders, and the space just opened up, and I just seen the winger coming forward, and like I say, I don't really think, I just do it, then think after, and people were saying I teed him up perfectly, but I didn't even mean to do anything. So it just goes by so quickly, and I was just lucky enough to have Ben on my shoulder to give him the ball, and he went under the sticks to score. So it was a huge moment in the game.
And of course, right at the very end of the match, there was a big moment which I think was over at this kind of side of the pitch, if I remember. Stuart Hogg boots the ball out, and then the camera cuts to a little giggling Darcy. I mean, do you remember that moment?
That's another moment. I got a photo sent through to me. One of my pals were like, "Why are you laughing at Jack?" No, but I didn't even mean it. I was just, I was just in the moment. I was just absolutely buzzing. We'd won the game, and I didn't even mean it to be doing it. But it kind of looks bad. But I promise you, I didn't mean it.
Yeah, the thoughts of Darcy Graham has had a fine rise from that afternoon in April 2015 when he made his white debut at Murrayfield in the cup final against Boroughmuir, all the way to being an international regular and having been so for some time. Of course, Scotland's men during October and November up against Australia, Fiji, New Zealand and Argentina. Of course, there's summer test tickets available as well for Scotland's women, the USA and Spain, and those matches against Australia, Fiji and Argentina, still tickets available. The New Zealand men's game sold out, but if you head to the Scottish Rugby website, if you want any more information about specific dates and tickets available for those matches for the women's games or the men's matches, head to the Scottish Rugby website. There once more is the backdrop, the Eildons, of course, dormant volcanoes just hovering over the edge of the Greenyards, and there is the scoreline: Watsonians 10, Southern Knights 5 at half time. Let's take a look at some of the highlights then. We had to wait until the 28th minute to get the first points on the board. Jason Baggett then landing a penalty, of course, an ex-fly half with Melrose, very familiar around these parts as an ex-Greenyards player. Baggett, a very experienced, clean striker of a ball, vital player for Watsonians to have at this level of competition.
Yeah, definitely, and he's certainly striking the ball nicely, and I think could come down to that at the end of the day. He's 100% off the tee at the minute, whereas Southern Knights haven't got any of their kicks yet. You see the good bit of opportunism at the base of a ruck, just popped out and reacted really well, and a really clean pickup and an excellent try to get them back into the game. Say unfortunately the conversions and penalties haven't quite gone Southern Knights' way, so they could easily be in the lead if they'd got all their points on the board.
Yeah, this coming just 3 minutes after that Baggett penalty. You watched McGee on towards Rory Knott, who sustained an injury. He was down for a few minutes after this collision here, but there was the opportunity presented to Sam Derrick, and anything one number 8 can do, well, we discovered shortly afterwards the same can be said of the opposite number. Now, how about this? A kick and chase on here. Murray Scott up against Robbie Chalmers. Chalmers just timing the tackle perfectly as the ball was bouncing up towards the diminutive scrum half here. Again, he weighted this bit of football, the kick towards the line. He slows up, just providing Chalmers with that opportunity to close him down. I think Scott's appealing that Chalmers perhaps got a brush of the ball with that left hand, but a fine piece of defensive cover there from the outside centre.
Yeah, it was good cover. You just wonder whether Scott just really attacked that ball, and so he did slow down and almost wait for a little bit, but it was great cover by Chalmers, and this was a cracking try. Things finally clicking for Watsonians here. Eastgate being the orchestrator there with a lovely pass over the top, and Hess just coming onto it. He hangs out in the wide channels a lot. He's a very athletic ball carrier, and he finished that try off well. A couple of defenders to beat still. He almost looked like an athletic winger out there.
And this time Chalmers couldn't stop Irvin Hess. There was the attempt, but Hess over for the try. So both number 8s on the score sheet. There's Baggett's conversion, and we have a 10-5 scoreline at half time. And there see the skill of the Watsonians fly half close towards the touchline, 5 or so metres in from touch, and that's a fine 2 points converted score. I think the spectators will be hoping that when the second half gets underway, there's a little bit more urgency shown, perhaps, well, not so much urgency, but just fluency, I suppose is a better term to use, by these sides in the second half. No question of the effort shown by the players, but very much a classic case of these sides a little ring rusty, having not played competitively for a couple of months, but they'll know that little bit more about each other now, having 40 minutes under their belts. Melrose, of course, one of the most picturesque towns in the country to have a rugby ground situated right in the very centre. I mentioned Eildon Hills hovering. Of course, they're very much a permanent fixture and have been since the Greenyards featured the likes of its first Rugby Sevens tournament, which has become iconic around the world. Have you ever climbed up the Eildons? I've been up that north one that we're seeing quite a bit.
No, certainly not in a while. I think I must have been up in the Eildons a few times in my time down there. I actually just saw my uncle just on the screen there helping out. He's helping out with the officiating, so maybe drop him a text telling me he needed to have a wee shave before he popped up on camera.
Well, I know one person listening from abroad, from Ontario, Canada, who's climbed up there, and the middle hill as well, which it's a good workout getting up there, through the heather and gorse, as the Southern Knights will be looking to try and get a good workout themselves in the second half, but try and overturn a 5-point deficit as they make their way out of the changing rooms onto the park. Watsonians 10-5 in front, 40 minutes between them and an opening victory, which would continue on nicely given their Super6 sprint form. But it's the Southern Knights that will get this second half underway. Of course, looking at the bench as well, that becomes an increasingly important feature during the second half when both coaches look to make some changes. Travis Pringle of Watsonians and Bruce Rubbin of Southern Knights. Gathered immediately then from the kickoff. Watsonians to try and gather some possession of the ball early in the second half. Some spectators making their way back to their seats, and our match referee Johnny Perry just over the play at the moment as Watsonians play long downfield, crossfield. Billy Wara is able to pick up, reading the flight of that ball, and now the Fijian showing his power and running style. Socks round the ankles in the first half, but he's got them up top by the shins now in this second period. And McGee sliding in there, looking for the offload, taken on this time by Isaac Brace. Tight head prop, recycled again on this time towards Cameron Scott. Floated pass out towards the try scorer Sam Derrick. Alongside him now is the first half replacement for the Southern Knights, Kieran Clark. In fact, there's a replacement at scrum half. Douglas Crawford is on, so McGee replaced by Crawford. And Crawford it is that is now trying to engineer things for the Southern Knights in this second period, with Cameron Scott and Chalmers still in the centre. Now they've got a left-footed kicker this time on the park, with that high up and under, guarded there by Watsonians, despite the best attentions of the Knights down that left-hand side. And Wana back to his feet once more. There's a little splinter run from Carl Davis, who's also on the bench, so off from the bench. So a few changes have been made by both sides at half-time. Bring you confirmation of those as Scott now finds Baggett. Left-footed kick again by Eastgate into some space inside that 22. Scampering after it is Crawford. Crawford has time to spin round and at least launch a kick down and just beyond that 22. As you can see, Ross Maben's flag raised, and Rory Knott has also been replaced by one of the Southern Knights players on the bench as well. And we can see, just get confirmation of the other changes there. Douglas Crawford on for Kyle McGee, and Cal Davis on, I would imagine, for Campbell Wilson. Then a straight switch of hookers. Davis is a good player to bring on as well for a full 40 minutes, given his try-scoring prowess, particularly from the lineouts.
And you saw real impact with his first carry as well. I think Watsonians have come out. They got a wee rocket up the backside of their carrying with some real intent and getting some real momentum on the gain line, which is allowing them to sort of pick and choose, and then they can kick it when they're on the front foot, and they've come out with some really good field position here.
Van Niekerk also on for Beresford in the Watsonian second row. Demirel also on for Rory Knott. So Mirem Demirel to see what he can do in that second row for the Southern Knights. Patterson also on for Kotsia as the drive on now, and it's the aforementioned Carl Davis with the ball tucked under the right arm, getting close towards that 5 metre line, splinters away towards the line, tries to straighten up, but he's caught still about 4 metres short of the line. They'll need to recycle Watsonians, but the forwards go again as Davis gets back to his feet, immediately involved in the proceedings then at the start of this second period. As vice captain during those Super 6 sprint series, 3 minutes of the second half gone. Watsonians look to try and pick and go once more. Derrick with the tackle and block there for Southern Knights. Again, they look to try and spread it wide. Baggett with dancing feet works his way through the Southern Knights defence. Good upper body strength shown as well. And there's something about the returning old guard doing some damage at the Greenyards, with Baggett adding to his conversion and penalty goal with a try at the start of this second half. You can see Murray Scott's intent there. Long pass out there towards Eastgate. Eastgate taken on brilliantly there by Jason Baggett, just around the waist. But good strength shown by the fly half just to evade the challenges coming in.
Yeah, it certainly was, and this is something to do a lot with Eastgate coming up at first receiver and coming out the back to Baggett, who's also just shown how dangerous the run area is as well. So lots of interchange between them, and a well-worked try.
Baggett will look to try and add the extras. Billy Wara couldn't stop him. He was sort of reaching with those giant telescopic forearms to slow down the fly half. That's a converted try. So Baggett adding to his tally. He's enjoying a return to the Scottish borders this afternoon. 17 points to 5. That's a bright start to the second half from the Myerside club. But I have to say that I'm surprised by the sheer number of changes in the first half. Both sides clearly looking at the interval to try and freshen things up and bring perhaps a completely different approach to the game.
Yeah, I don't know if they're all tactical or there were a few enforced ones, but there's been wholesale changes from both sides. So it's not been the most fluid game so far. So there's no danger of it breaking up that. But hopefully some of these guys coming on will give that fresh impetus, and Watsonians certainly have come out firing.
Baggett's kicked long downfielder's return with a bit of interest, and Baggett has the ball again. Scott in behind him. The two half-backs working well as Bratton looks to try and carry up towards that 10-metre line. Should be Ian Moody also on the attack as well, I think, or Van Niekerk. So we know Van Niekerk is certainly on. That's a high up and under and gathered there by Aidan Cross, and a solid collision with the fullback flying in. Douglas Crawford appealing for possession of the ball there. You can see him, scrum half, scurrying around, just trying to keep some momentum going, as Watsonians had players that were sort of devoured in a challenge. Perhaps Crawford felt there was some space out towards the Southern Knights' right hand side. Keen to get on with it quickly. Cameron Scott this time kicking down towards the edge of the 22. And there's his confirmation. Ian Moody is on for Neil Irvin Hess. So further change there. Irvin Hess replaced, Beresford replaced with Van Niekerk and Moody on. We know that Bratton's on and Carl Davis. So 4 of the potential front 5 changes already been made by Fergus Pringle. Ball one in the air as the Southern Knights try scorer Sam Derrick does well in the line out. Eventually tackled by Carl Davis. Derrick was scampering after it. Crawford, the scrum half, in behind. Knocked on by the Southern Knights. 46.5 minutes of the game gone. And Watsonians 17-5 in front.
It's a shame there, just a little spill. Would have liked to get the next points on the board, I'm sure, Southern Knights, so that was a good opportunity. But yeah, now another chance for Watsonians to get a good clearance.
Looking to set into this first scrum of the second half with many changes in personnel. Watsonians will look at Scott to feed the ball in here as they are trying to time their exit. Players just straddling that 22 as you see. Scott into the scrum, almost at the corner. Crawford again, primed and ready, tried to charge down that Baggett kick, but it makes some distance downfield from the 10. Southern Knights again launching it forward. Baggett calls the mark inside that 22. I think we know that both squads of players have got the ability to clear long from hand. We've seen quite a bit of that during the course of the game. It's about the intelligence a lot of the time off the kicking, of course, and the effectiveness of that if you're setting up an attacking platform, as Billy Wara watches that ball sail over halfway and into touch just short of that 10-metre line. Smile on the face of Jason Baggett. You can understand why. He's certainly on his side and his coach a turn this afternoon with the try, the conversions and the penalty goal in the game.
Yeah, no, he's having a very steady game and also a very well taken try. Say both sides kicking a lot, but not many kicks are finding turf in turning teams. There's a lot of kicks on the full, but you know, nobody really taking the opportunity to counter-attack yet. It would be nice to see a bit more ambition when these kicks are caught.
Yeah, they're cutting the ball in the line, and it's Wallace Nelson, the out inside flanker for the Knights, taking the ball into contact through the hands now of his captain Rennick on there towards Demirel. First carry for him since coming off the bench. Outside centre there, Robbie Chalmers trying to work it round the corner. In no goes Crawford. Carl Davis with the tackle. Crawford again makes himself available as Knights looking to get the ball further down the park. Crawford just easing the ball out to kick down full left-footed, and it's gathered immediately by Watsonians, covered just on that 10-metre line once more. Scott is able to feed the ball back into contact. There's good cover there from Harry Patterson, who's now occupying a position on that left-hand side. Ball bounces a few times, picked up though by the maroon and white of the visiting Watsonian side, leading by 17 points to 5. And they go once more, looking to create opportunity, perhaps a little bit of width as they initially try and power their way through. Jamie Campbell in the Southern Knights second row. Campbell equal to it just at the moment. So are the Knights, but they'll eventually have to try and chase the game unless the complexion changes in the next 10 or so minutes. Matt Scott now downfield, gathered by Kieran Clark. He's forced backwards there by Angus Guthrie. Clark does well to secure possession for Southern Knights though. Full-back cross, very quick to scoop the ball up to a clutch of Southern Knights players. In amongst it all is Rennick. So too you can see the jersey there of Ian Moody of Watsonians, but he'll come back to the left boot of Crawford and he'll measure this kick downfield. Another clean strike from the replacement scrum half. Again, Kieran Clark goes in to try and tackle or at least affect the mindset there of Roman McPherson, who was reading the flight of the ball, but he gathered in well. Cal Davis spins round, spins away from the challenge from Isaac Brace. Up and over that 10-metre line he goes. Scott in behind once more. This time Main lowers from his great height to take the ball into that contact situation, in towards Rennick there, who made the challenge, but it was back through the hands of Eastgate. Scott has it once more. This is Eastgate again. Measures the pass out towards the right-hand side. Berg up and over halfway. Patterson this time appears on the right-hand side. Scott on this time towards Courtney. Still gaining some yardage inside the Southern Knights half of the field. Penalty awarded to Watsonians. Knights appealing, and Johnny Perriam is having none of it as Watsonians and Baggett will look to get better field position. 11 minutes of the second half gone, and Watsonians just looking to have this spell in the game where they can take control, perhaps build on the lead, while Southern Knights are having to chase.
Yeah, a lot better from Watsonians there. I really like the look of Connor Eastgate. He's when he comes into the line, he's got a nice range of passing, whether short or long, and he's putting guys into a bit of space. And when he's getting involved in the attack for Watsonians, they seem to be making good yards and building some nice rhythm in the phase play.
Nice and line, please.
It's a kick down towards the edge of the 22, looking at one or two spectators just perched up on the wall opposite the posts that Watsonians are attacking in this second half. I suppose that's an alternative free view. You know, perched up there, you can get a good view of the players coming down the field. Carl Davis is now launching the throw. It was a high one, reaching up highest there. Ian Moody. Moody again, another player that is so familiar with the Borders game and with the likes of the Greenyards. Davis with that towering drive, very much a feature of his game, as you know, every hooker now is really having to adapt to the change and the requirement to be very clinical from 5 metres out. On this occasion, Southern Knights though have defended very well indeed. A fine clearance kick, and you have to say that was great defensive cover there, and a very good exit there from Cameron Scott from close towards his own try line.
Yeah, big turnover. Watsonians had that maul fairly well set, so Southern Knights forwards did really well, and you say cracking kick as well. It's a real pressure reliever, that.
Easing our way through the second half, 13.5 minutes gone. Davis with the throw in here for Watsonians. And look at the options in the line. And it looks as if Sib Cecil, the captain, is the player that was the option this time. It'll certainly come off for Watsonians as they spin it out towards this left-hand side now. Pace and drive required. Angus Guthrie is tackled eventually though by Patrick Anderson. Anderson with a good solid challenge, good timing there from the Berwickshire man. As Baggett now almost through, shot of the 22. Watsonians again looking to work it out towards the right-hand side. Berg with the little trundling kick. The ball goes into touch just on the edge of that 22. Baggett just stretching off perhaps a little knock or a bit of cramp as he'll continue. He'll want to remain part of this opening weekend fixture for Watsonians, starting rather than coming off the bench. A couple of players may well require a bit of treatment. Carl Davis is down on his haunches. There he is, just getting a little treatment to the right knee.
We'll do water now. Guys, we'll take our water break now.
Referee happy for the players to take their first water break of this second half, with almost exactly 14.5 minutes of the second half gone.
Yeah, certainly say Carl Davis has brought some good energy and ball carrying to the Watsonians play, and but yeah, that was another good bit of phase play by Watsonians, and then they really must have this game plan of trying to put these kicks in behind, because on the front foot again, in good field position, and then it just seems to be a bit of a kick to nothing when they had the real front foot ball. It's just they're looking good and dangerous when they are playing with it. They just need to back themselves a wee bit more, I think.
Davis looks as if he'll be able to continue. Enjoyed a quick drink himself before getting him back to his feet. A sprinkling of spectators inside the main stand at the Greenyards, with many also lined along the bankings. A little bit more overcast now than it was at the start of the fixture. Watsonians then 17 points to 5 in front, 29-20 winners back in April. Fraser Rennick, the Southernite skipper, then looking to change the fortunes. Demirel wins the ball just towards the front of the Southernites line, and they've got some good left-footed kickers here in the form of Crawford and of Cameron Scott, if they want to try and exit from that corner. Billy Wara in position as well, just behind a group of players. They're just almost trying to organise a maul going there, but almost 15 minutes gone, so there'll be no further movement. The referee will restart the game just in this pocket of the pitch on the edge of the 22, I think. Perhaps another change coming. So there's a change. Kieran Clark, is he making his way off the park? We'll get confirmation of that change. There is David Colvin stripped him on the field, and he's on for Kieran Clark. So Clark himself, who hasn't been on the park all that long, has been replaced by David Colvin, and the game resumes with this Watsonians scrummage. Scott into the scrum. Controlled there by the feet very deliberately by Ian Moody. Now it comes out towards Eastgate. Baggett, long floated pass there. Patterson, outstretched right arm, trying to gather the ball in. Inside that 22. Again, Southernite's defence just trying to scramble. There's the penalty awarded to Watsonians. Just on the edge of the 22. 15 minutes of the second half gone.
Under pressure, wheeling.
To see this again. It was an excellent take by Patterson. Hadn't really appreciated it until we see the replay. And it was a good, strong, outstretched arm to gather the ball in without knocking it forward or dislodging it altogether.
Yes.
This is a chance for Watsonians to really turn the screw here. It's certainly had most of the pressure and looked to be getting a wee bit of dominance up front as well. So there's some great maul defence in the previous wee while back by Southern Knights, so they need to summon that sort of will again and try and get a turnover and keep Watsonians out. Otherwise, it is going to look like it's going to start drifting away from them.
Yeah, good one in the line out there by Ian Moody. Carl Davis again. We're going to get this driving maul up towards that try line. Lee Miller has replaced Jason Baggett, so Baggett, you could see, was stretching muscle there, perhaps a knock or a bit of cramp or something, but they're not risking him. Lee Miller is now on for, you would imagine, the remainder of the contest. Scott, fine pass on there towards Seb Cecil, the captain, up to within those final few metres. Main almost leaping into the challenge there as the Southern Knights defence look to try and reorganise. They're almost at the pads of that left-hand post. Scott then looks to reverse the angle out towards this right-hand side. Cutting in is the outside centre, Lewis Berg, finding a gap, a similar position to Baggett opening up the Southern Knights defence earlier in the half, about 15 or so minutes ago. This time it's Lewis Berg who's over for the try, 3 minutes shy of the hour, and that score may well be decisive, because with a 22-5 lead with the kick to come, Watsonians may feel that the game should now be beyond their hosts, the Knights.
Yeah, really good recognition by Lee Miller, just fresh on the pitch, just scanning and picking up some mismatches on the short side, and good communication with his 9, and just simple execution, some good passing, good awareness, and a good finish by Berg there as well. So good clever play by Watsonians there, and I think we can really look at starting to turn the screw here. Southern Knights really need to start putting a few things together and get back down and get some points on the board and try and get back within touching distance.
Miller with that heavy strapping just either side of the elbow, having a look up at the posts. Be mindful of how well Baggett has done with the boot, but Miller adding the extras, 24 points to 5, and we're 2 minutes shy of the hour mark. And these Watsonians players, Miller and co, heading back into their own half with a spring in their step and some real purpose now. Restart just being delayed as I think Southern Knights are making a further change there. Grant Shields, vice captain, replaced by Corey Boker. Straight loose head replacement there for Grant Shields. So yeah, just confirmation that earlier in the game Callum Grieve was replaced by Kieran Clark, and subsequently Clark has left the park to be replaced by David Colvin. So I think Duncan Hood and Struan Cessford, Jordan Miller will be the 3 remaining players on the bench for the Southern Knights from the 23-man squad selected for this opening FOSROC Super 6 fixture.
There might be some more subs coming here as well. Trying to get some fresh legs on for this last 20 minutes. Be a few tired bodies out there, being the first game of the season. So this should be a time when some more gaps will open up. So see if Southern Knights can take advantage of that, or whether Watsonians will turn the screw.
Looking to bring on Duncan Hood in place of Fraser Rennick. I think it was just after we watched the replay of the last Watsonians try. We did, in fact, Duncan Hood, well, it says there Robbie Chalmers. I thought Fraser Rennick had passed their screen looking to head towards the changing rooms himself, but I think I can see him now. He's certainly on the part, because he's in the middle of the front row 3 for this scrum. There is Rennick straddling his tight and loose head props. So I figured that he perhaps had picked up a knock himself. 24 points to 5 then. So scrum on halfway. Scotland feeds the ball in just towards that corner. Scotland, Watsonians told to use the ball. Picked up there in the number 8 position, making again some ground. Final floor as Main takes the ball on from pass from Woody, who was clattering down towards the deck. Picked up once again by Scott. This time it's Harrison Courtney. New Zealand up towards the edge of the 22. Scott once more out towards this right hand side. They're queuing up to try and attack the Southern Knights defence on the right channel. Solid challenge comes in, recycled again. Bratton has it in open play. One of the early forward replacements made by Fergus Pringle on his side. In the second row, of course, we have Lewis Ball, wearing 4 this afternoon. He's open and he's inside that 22 now. Behind him now is Scott. Scott recycles again on towards Davis, picked up this time by Van Niekerk. Not certainly a player that's ever a quiet figure on the part. That was a decent carry from Van Niekerk. On towards the latest try scorer, Berg. He's slowed up this time 6 or so metres from the line. Scott has a little look, brings Main into play once more. Main with a little pass on towards Lee Miller, flat, and it works its way out towards the left hand side towards Angus Guthrie, and once again Watsonians just finding space, and the powerful drive takes them across the line for try number 4. There's the bonus point. Congratulations, that was a real team effort there, securing a 4th try for Watsonians. The try bonus coming on the hour mark.
Yeah, just too much pressure just on this Southern Knights defence, and some good interplay between the backs and the forwards. Look at the loose head ball play in there, and a good carry. It was a missed tackle in the end, but just constant pressure on that line, some building phases, mixing up between tight and wide. Much better play by Watsonians the second half.
That's tries for Jason Baggett in 43 minutes, Lee Miller in 57, Angus Guthrie in 60. Jason Baggett with the penalty goal coming earlier on as well. In fact, Lee Miller converted the try, I should say. It was Lewis Berg with the try, Lee Miller with the conversion. Here he is. So Berg, Baggett, Guthrie and Irvin Hess with the tries for Watsonians so far. And Miller looking for his second conversion, and that just is able to brush past that left-hand post. And that was a fine conversion again from Lee Miller, who's showing his worth since coming off the bench. And 31 points to 5 is now the scoreline into the final quarter of the game.
Yeah, he's moving the team around nicely and hitting his goals as well, so he could enjoy these last 20 minutes. It could turn into a bit of a nightmare last quarter for Southern Knights if they don't manage to buck this Watsonians momentum.
On the back of a disappointing Super 6, they're certainly not looking to come into a game at home and suffer a heavy home defeat. I think it was Ayrshire Bulls that inflicted quite a substantial defeat during the Super 6 sprint competition against the Southern Knights at the Greenyards. But 31 points to 5 with 17 minutes of the game left to play, and of course they've gone to the bench quite early and quite extensively during half time. It's Bruce Ruthven. It's going to certainly be a test of what he can do and how he can work with the players in the coming weeks to reverse the fortunes of late. But for Fergus Pringle, it's without necessarily seeing the best of Watsonians during this match. When you can land a try bonus victory, as it would seem at the moment it will be, that's a good job in the opening weekend away from home.
Oh yeah, they'll be delighted to leave the borders with a bonus point victory, that's for sure. So it wasn't quite clicking in the first half for either team, but Watsonians have been the one that managed to grow into the game and start putting things together. You saw the subs that they did make at half time really made an impact and have been playing with good intensity, getting further on the gain line and getting that speed of ball, and it just allows the fluidity in their phase play and shape to come through, and it's been far more enjoyable if you're a Watsonian supporter in the second half, that's for sure.
Of course, Rob Christie was in charge of the Southern Knights side during the first fully completed season when they were second to Ayrshire Bulls in that final played at the Dam Health last October. But the Knights, well, there's still time in the game to mount a challenge and trying to get themselves back on the front foot and really asking some questions of this Watsonian side. 31 points to 5, but it's a tall order now for this Knights team to completely turn the screw and turn things around. Picked up again in that number 8 position, a little uncertainty, but the Knights again looking to try and gain some ground and get themselves back into Watsonians territory. Crawford then will deliver the box kick downfield and shepherded out there by Loman McPherson. And again, that's just a little bit too much on the kick, on the angle. So back it will come. Carl Davis immediately there with the throw in. So that was one thing McGee, when he was on the park, he was finding a very good line from very close towards the touchline. Crawford will be disappointed with that kick as he watches on hands and on hips just at the moment. Davis then with the throw in for Watsonians. Gain movement in the line. Once more they find their captain Seb Cecil in the line. Again working it through the hands of Lee Miller. Coming on at a rate of knots. Watsonians players now aware that there may well be further gaps in the Southern Knights defence. Not on this occasion, no. Penalty awarded to the home team. And a chance again for them to clear from the edge of the 22. And this time it will be Cameron Scott that will do that with his trusted left boot.
Yeah, good turnover there and pretty vital for the Knights. Hopefully they can muster up some energy in this last 15 minutes, and although looks unlikely that they'll be able to pull back a victory, but it's important for them now. First game of the season, not all is lost. Let's start building for the coming weeks and get into their shapes, their actions, and hopefully come away with a few morale boosting tries.
One or two players certainly showing signs of cramp and discomfort, and I think that's Cameron Scott. The referee saying he's certainly had problems in the last couple of minutes. So Scott is able to sit up right now at least. And again, he would be a loss in that is obviously the left leg, but he for the most part has been able to deliver some strong lengthy clearance kicks downfield. And if he was to get into an attacking position once or twice, might be able to pop a few balls into the corner for some attacking platforms for Southern Knights. but they have this one at the moment on the 10-metre line, inside their own half of the field. Up against it at the moment. One in the air by Sam Derrick. Back it comes towards Crawford, the replacement scrum half. Through the hands towards Nelson, the open side flanker. He goes to deck. Crawford in behind. On towards the skipper, Rennick. Runs into trouble there in the form of experienced Watsonians players. One of them being Carl Main, who's really put himself about during the course of the afternoon. Off his wing now, trying to find space through the middle, Billy Wara, who scored in the most recent match between the sides back in April here at the Greenyards when Watsonians won by 29 points to 20. Chamberlain with the rest of the points, but Wara also in the score sheet for the Knights. They've opened it up now towards Colvin. We've not seen a lot of him since he came off the bench to replace Kieran Clark about 10 or so minutes ago. Into contact, Demerel this time. There is the left-footed kick, and again Aidan Cross was chasing after that one. Couldn't quite read the bounce of the ball. Comes back on the Watsonian side, and you needed a situation like that to open up favourably for Cross to read the bounce of the ball and to try and get in behind the Watsonians defence, maybe to change the flow and cohesion of the game for Southern Knights. Miller's kick though, crossfield is gathered, and suddenly now the Knights are able to get up and over halfway. Crawford goes in once more, has a little look. This is Scott, he's back, he's willing to carry on as the players are on halfway. Carl Davis tries to get back to his feet there. Crawford almost tramples over him. The huge figure now of Struan Sesford, who's also off the bench and onto the park and into the war zone, so to speak, as it's now a crossfield kick there by Cameron Scott. That trundles twice into touch. You can see one or two players just receiving a few some treatment there. Same player in the war certainly picked up a knock to around the eyebrow area. One of the Southern Knights players on the deck. Cameron Scott aiming towards the corner. Watsonians going to the bench again. Robbie Dean's coming on for the remaining 14 minutes of the match.
Yeah, Knights unlucky. Bounce the ball, just a wee drop. It was a lovely, clever kick from Crawford from the base of the ruck, and yeah, Cross was just unlucky not to be able to gather, because it could have ended up just being a bit of a foot race in for a try there. But a wee bit better from the Knights, playing with a bit of ball in hand. Now putting the pressure on, see if they can force a turnover or a poor kick from Watsonians and get into a nice attacking opportunity again.
Yeah, see that Harrison Courtney had been replaced by Robbie Deans there, one of the Knights players down receiving a bit of treatment. I suppose we're almost at that stage in the game, really, where you start to think about contenders for player of the match. I'm sure you'll be giving that some thought, and that will come in the next 10, 12 or so minutes from now. But Watsonians, we talked about the satisfaction there. Knights, you feel there's a bit of work to do, and perhaps going into the Super 6 series, there may be a little bit more disruption around the Southern Knights club than the other 5 clubs, and that's maybe still showing, because there's maybe still needing to settle into a new regime and a new way of doing things.
Yeah, definitely. So there's been a lot of disruption, and I mean, a lot of these having to play sort of moving parts here, trying to they've got forwards and the backs and stuff. They've been unlucky with injuries as well today, so that's going to be more headaches for Rutherford in the coming weeks. So hopefully they can figure it out. You certainly want everyone to be competitive and have a really sort of good shot at the league. So all this disruption, all these injuries, it's not going to be helping the Southern Knights, but hopefully it can galvanise them and pull them tighter together. Whereas I think Watsonians in the second half have really showed that they can play sort of two styles of play, so if they can try and find that balance a wee bit better in between their kicking and their running, I think they could be a real threat this year. They've looked pretty good this second half.
We'll of course at the end of the game just go over the weekend action, but in case you missed it, last night Ayrshire Bulls defeating Heriots by 33 points to 17. There was a win as well earlier this afternoon up at Bridgehawk for Boroughmuir Bears. So a fine start for the Meggetland side away at Bridgehawk, 27 points to 10. So a win for the reigning champions and a win away from home for Boroughmuir, and it looks as if the sprint champions Watsonians will get off and running with a victory at the Greenyards if things remain as they are. But 14 minutes or so left to play. Carl Davis, again the replacement hooker, just looking at the traffic in front of him. Releases Scott down this left-hand side. Now Watsonians looking to find some space for Guthrie to run into. Made some good ground there. Davis in immediately behind him. Powerful running here from the second row forward. Ball plants it back towards Scott. Now again through the hands, finds Eastgate. He's been very effective at times this afternoon, tackled by Sam Derrick, the Southern Knights try scorer, that coming some time ago now it seems, back just over the half-hour mark when they then led by 5 points to 3. Will they go out further here? Guthrie, powerful run, backs himself into the 22, had the options of bringing Van Niekerk into play there, another giant South African on the park, but Watsonians I think have just overcooked that on this occasion. And with 13 minutes on the clock left to play, it's 31 points to 5, and Southern Knights will be able to escape from their own 22. But a good piece of running here from Guthrie, just almost running out of options and running out of room there as the Southern Knights players descended upon him.
Yeah, it was a great break, but a great cover tackle, low chop that just allowed the man to come on and get that turnover. The kick hasn't relieved as much pressure as I think they would have wanted, but at least they snuffed out that try-scoring opportunity for Watsonians.
Fraser Rennick then looking to throw the ball into this line out, receiving the instructions this time from Corey Boker. Rennick again finds Sam Derrick towards the front of the line. Rennick will have the ball in his possession. Douglas Crawford comes in, reaching in for it now. Launches it forward. High left-footed kick. Will be challenged in the air. Watsonians' hands again, gathering the ball in that collision between the two sets of players. Back through the hands of Lee Miller. On once more towards Eastgate. Floated pass out towards the right-hand side. Watsonians now trying to make ground beyond the 10-metre line. Scurrying in very quickly there is Murray Scott, looking to keep the flow of the game going, but requires the forwards to do that just on this occasion, as Scott now has possession of the ball, has a little look at the options, brings Miller into play as well. Has been a very effective replacement for Baggett this afternoon. Scott again in position, but it's been stolen. Turnover ball, Alan Ferry comes away with it for Southern Knights, on towards Billy Wara. Fine one that handed for Gian-like offload there, and up and over halfway they go. Crawford has it again, this time it's taken on by Demirel. We get to see him up close this time on the screen as it's back towards Crawford. His offload this time brings Wallace Nelson into play. Nelson it was, he was I think in the wars a little bit earlier on with that knock to the head, but his continued play, I think it was a cut more than a solid collision he was being treated for, as the ball comes back by way of Cameron Scott on towards Derrick down this left hand side, short of the 10-metre line. Again Crawford goes in, has a look at the options towards the right hand side, and once more he brings the Demirel into play. Now this time it's taken on by Cameron Scott, up himself into that 22, recycled very quickly. On reached arms there of Aidan Cross is able to gather the ball in the fullback. Crawford in behind him, on rushing is the skipper. Fraser Rennick takes the ball in up towards that 15. And the penalty awarded to Watsonians, as you could see the initial energy from Southern Knights almost sapping away as they got camped on the edge of that 22. Watsonians helping to slow play down here, but this is a fine piece of running. It was a decent offloader, decent gather eventually from the pass that made its way to Cameron Scott. A fine solo run from the inside centre, and it was at this point in the contest where you've really felt that if Southern Knights could get something else on the board, it would be allowing them to build in the final 10 minutes to at least get some more consolation than the 5 points they have.
Yeah, I mean, I was much better by the Knights, putting some phases together. Scott has by far been one of their best players today. Good left boot, good running, and even been battling for the last sort of 10-15 minutes with some cramps, so he's done well. And he's slipped off now to be replaced by a forward as well, I think. Just showing the sort of problems that the Knights have had today with injuries and changes. So it's a tough shift, tough last 10 minutes. There's some tired bodies out there, so we'll see how they can keep cracking on.
You don't have to agree every time, it's fair enough. Yeah, line for you guys. Line for you. Play on, back. Step on side, fellas. Who's that? Going back. No clear release on the tackle before you went back to the ball. Clear release before you're back on the ball, please. On the line, please, fellas. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we'll know only to bar up here. Driving Mole probably en route. A cracking kick from Miller there to from a tight angle to get within six metres or so. It was a great outcome, and yeah, certainly demoralising for those Knights forwards. Watsonians will really want to be putting the knife into them now.
Davis with the throw in there, Seb Cecil. Watsonians uncharacteristic knock on at the line though. 31 points to 5 in the scoreline, and Southern Knights an opportunity for them then to clear from their own 5 metre line. You would expect a difficult test with this Watsonians team, obviously, as we mentioned, Boyne having won the sprint series, but because the games come thick and fast, there's two ways of looking at it. You know, there's they've got an opportunity to quickly put this behind them and refocus and go once again, but they don't want any rot to set in early in the season, because that would make things very difficult then for the campaign going forward. Get off to a bad start, they certainly don't want it to be sort of back-to-back heavy defeats. Billy Wara then taking the ball into that contact situation. Main with the tackle from Watsonians, their open side flanker on the deck just now. Anderson just with the initial clear out, just allows Crawford to play it downfield. Left-footed kick, doesn't quite make halfway, but back in the hands now of Watsonians as they float it forward there. Patterson leading the charge. Out it comes on this left-hand side, and Berg, who's already landed a try. Berg with a lovely offload towards Guthrie. Guthrie getting close himself. Scored a try on the hour mark. Recycled ball here from Scott. And they're up and they're over for a score. And Watsonians again just that little bit more direct with their attacking play. Guthrie with a fine run. The reinforcements coming in as well. 36 points to 5 the scoreline. I think the referee just checking with his assistants that all of that was good, but it was Carl Main who finished things off with that blue scrum cap on his head. The initial running here from Berg, on then towards Guthrie. An excellent challenge coming in from behind here from Cross, and then the work of Scott there releasing Main. There we get to see the flanker crashing through despite the best efforts of Alan Ferry. And 36-5 with this Lee Miller kick to come, just adding further damage to Southern Knights this afternoon.
Yeah, great counter-attack there, spreading the ball wide, and some good hard carrying from Berg, and then the good hard carrying on the line there to get that try. And it's looking like a good day at the office for Watsonians, and a good start to their campaign, which they'll be delighted with. Hopefully Southern Knights will get a chance to get back down and get another try, just to give them a wee confidence boost going into next week. But I say, quick turnaround and get back to it, and they'll be looking to bounce back straight away.
Yeah, they've only 5 minutes of the contest left to play then, as we watch Lee Miller now come forward. That's just past the uprights. So Watsonians as a whole have been very successful from the tee this afternoon when you look at the effort of Jason Baggett before he picked up a knock. Fergus Sprinkle will certainly hope that Baggett is fully fit and will be able to continue this early part of the season, but there's been a good run out, a good workout as well for Lee Miller off the bench. From the restart kick, the loose ball was up to try and gather possession of the ball for Watsonians. It's like a hot potato at the moment as Watsonians play forward. The referee now signals the knock-on, so Southern Knights have a platform inside the 22 to perhaps produce another try-scoring opportunity at least in the closing 4 minutes of the game.
Yeah, real good chance to get a morale boosting score here. Good field position, good attacking platform. Let's see if they can produce a nice strike move from here, although they do have a bit of a makeshift backline at the minute, so I'm not sure if they'll have the full extent of the playbook to hand, but hopefully they can get something going.
Crawford then feeding the ball into the scrum, or unable to do so just at the moment, as our referee Johnny Perriam just breaking up the respective front rows once more. But this is eating into the remaining time in the contest, just past 20 minutes past 6. 3 minutes of the game to go, and of course it's about this time that we reflect on and announce the player of the match, and there he is, the Watsonians inside centre, Connor Eastgate. Has been an architect rather than a finisher this afternoon, Ruaridh, but you've been very impressed by his overall work rate and performance. Yeah,
I think he's just been a bit of a difference between the teams. In the first half he showed some really nice touches and pulled some strings. He switched with Jason Baggett a lot between 10 and 12, and he has a lovely array of passing. There's some other great performances. Scott is a real live wire at 9, but Carl Davis brought some real impact in the second half, but I think Connor Eastgate has pulled the strings really well from the centre, and he's been a bit of a difference, and certainly in the second half, the fluidity that Watsonians were showing, I think he's been a big instigator of that. And as you say, he's more of an architect than a highlight reel of line breaks and things like that, but it's key to have those kind of players in your ranks, and he's been outstanding today.
Well, congratulations to Connor Eastgate, the FOSROC Super 6 player of the match for this contest between the Southern Knights and Watsonians. On the winning side, as Watsonians are now just 2 minutes away from sealing an opening weekend victory down at the Greenyards, 36 points to 5. They will join Ayrshire Bulls and Boroughmuir Bears as winners on the opening weekend. Fraser Rennick, though, one final opportunity for Rennick and Southern Knights to add to their tally of 5 points, courtesy of that Sam Derrick try 31 minutes into the game. The instructions coming by way of Corey Boker, and Rennick then will look to throw the ball in 5 metres, as you see from the Watsonians line. Well, it's found Derrick, the try scorer. They'll look to join in the drive here, apply a bit of pressure on this Watsonians defence. The captain has possession of the ball at the moment, looking up whenever he can at what is in front of him. He's got Crawford, the replacement scrum half, in behind, but he's desperate to try and continue and secure possession under that right arm as Watsonians look to try and strip. Eating into the final now minute of the match left to play. Picked up this time nearby. Well, Demerel's in the thick of it as well. You can see him in there as he's on the deck at the moment, and he'll lift himself off the deck as Knights offload once more. Another player, Carl Main, who I'd imagine would be in contention for player of the match, has done well scoring that try, but defending just to a man at the moment, this Watsonian side. Almost 30 seconds of the game left to play. Rennick will have another go. Straightens up, but already the reinforcements are there in Watsonian's colours to defend. Crawford now with the index finger on the right arm, just waving players around to try and find a way through. Ball carrier Boker this time slowed up, almost on the line. Crawford once more. Huge figure of Cessford, the tight head replacement, carries forward, but he's slowed up. Crawford again will have a look. Carl Davis on the deck. Then they tried to bring some of the more slight players on the park, and there's not too many of them, but can they find a way through? They remain camped just in those final 2-3 metres from that Watsonians line. They've now hit the red mark into the 80th minute, and now the drive is on here, and David Colvin is heading up towards the try line. So this is surely the final fling from the Southern Knights here as they bring Cessford into play again. Here He runs into Main, who's forced backwards but slows up the replacement tight head prop. 36 points to 5, and Watsonians will see this game out, but will they inflict any further damage on the Myerside club, this Southern Knights team that are certainly desperate for more points on the board? They work it back, a cross-field kick this time, the advantage coming. Billy Wara this time is able to juggle, the Fijian does well, ball in the air, little offload on the edge of the 22 brings David Colvin into play. Colvin then on that 15 channel is tackled, and the referee will come back, having played that period of advantage to allow at least the Southern Knights to float a freebie crossfield kick there to stretch Watsonians. This time it's a little tap and go there from Jamie Campbell, the second row. He's tackled practically on the try line. Cessford this time, and Cessford for a third time is driving towards the line. He'll not be denied on this occasion, and Struan Cessford, well, it'll be little consolation to him and his teammates, but a fine way for Southern Knights to end the contest with another try on the board at least. Rueful expressions on their faces, because they know that it's been a disappointing afternoon all round, but Ruaridh, it's exactly what you were looking for from the Southern Knights, and credit to those forwards and Cessford in particular for finishing that off.
Yeah, definitely, it's great to show a bit fight all the way through to the end. It's been a tough afternoon, certainly in the second half for them. Lots of changes throughout the games, lots of injuries and disruptions, so nice for them to finish on a high. He's shown real good impact since he's come on, so he deserves his try, and a nice little tip on from the big man as well. It just shows you a bit of variation, but between the forwards it just can open up things, and yeah, well worked try towards the end to finish the things, and a conversion to boot as well. And
a conversion to conclude proceedings then, and it's the Southern Knights players on your screen just now with the disconsolate body language, the disappointment. 12 points to 36 the final score, and Watsonians will be mentioned their victory in April. That's a second win in the calendar year for them against the Southern Knights down at the Greenyards. Southern Knights then will have some work to do. But Bruce Ruthven's squad selection next weekend is going to be very interesting, because Rem Demirel and Struan Cessford are two players that were perhaps two of the most effective players coming off the bench, although Corey Boker did well as a replacement front row forward. So you imagine that these players may well have factored their way into the mindset of Bruce next weekend for a start. Yeah, definitely. They showed good impact even in trying circumstances. When they were up against it, they stuck their hand up and showed some real good resolve there, and some nice bits of play, some good ball carrying, and certainly sort of going to give Bruce, I think, more headaches than he already has with the amount of injuries that happened throughout the game. So certainly in the back line there's going to be a lot of reshuffling, I think, but hopefully they can regather and get back together and put out a strong team and a performance next week. Yeah, and it's always difficult to assess a performance and exactly where you are after just one game, because there'd always be that feeling of room for improvement. But it was 10 points to 5 at half time, with the first points coming by way of the Watsonians. The ex-Melrose player Jason Baggett with a penalty in 28 minutes. So 10-5 at the interval, but Watsonians got off to a flying start in the second period, and Baggett, one of those ex-Melrose players in this Watsonian squad, was very quick to react here, Rory. Yeah, exactly. There's a missed tackle, but we're at the end, but just good movement, good deception, and nice just interplay between Eastgate and Baggett. Again, they linked really well throughout. Lots of changing in positions and who's pulling the strings, and also two good kicking options with the right foot, left foot. So they're good access, and I think if they both stay fit, they could be really important throughout the season for the Watsonians. And Wara there just couldn't get through quickly enough and low enough to really interrupt Baggett's stride as he was over for the try. And he had a good afternoon in the tee as well, converting the try. So that was a 17-5 lead 3 minutes into the second half, and that was really the nature of how things would develop during the second half, as Watsonians continued to work their way further into the lead. Now this almost a carbon copy here, because it was Lewis Berg who ran in for a try about 13-14 minutes after the Baggett score. Very similar, initially set up by the scrum half Scott. This time Lee Miller, who was on for Baggett, feeding the ball out this time to Berg, and it was outside centre in a similar position to Baggett to finish things off.
Yeah, just good recognition of space and personnel who's in front of you. So a few of the bigger forwards, tired forwards from the Knights on that short side, and Lee Miller just recognising that, getting his call into Scott and pulling the boys around, and then nice little finish for Berg to run it in under the post, and another nice conversion from Lee Miller.
Yeah, Miller not long on the park at that stage after Baggett, I think, had a muscle injury or perhaps signs of cramp, but he was removed. Miller was on, and he's showing his quality with the boot during the course of the afternoon from the tee as well as from hand. Well, there was further damage just 3 minutes later. Carl Main on towards Lee Miller. The ball eventually works its way out towards Guthrie. Angus Guthrie had run some good lines as well and made some good breaks from deeper line positions, but this time the left winger was positioned well inside that 22 to finish off this move. Nice sidestep in between. Bruce Rutherford, I would imagine, will be disappointed with the Southern Knights defence close towards their own 5 metre line, because yet again, perhaps wrong-footed here, as Guthrie was through and too powerful for Aidan Cross.
Yeah, certainly be disappointed with the defence on that one. There was no real clear opportunity there, but just good hard running, and Guthrie did look a threat for most of the game and had some great carries, so he could be a threat moving on. But yeah, as he definitely grew into the game as it wore on, got more ball as Watsonians started moving the ball about and made some really vital runs.
And there was more to come for Watsonians here. Lewis Berg, I thought he perhaps was on to provide Guthrie with another try-scoring opportunity here. Guthrie, as you see, was slowed up, but Carl Main was not to be denied. Open side flanker in support of his scrum half there, but again, good running this time from Berg from a deeper position. A good support line run here by Guthrie, as he was in position to at least carry the ball to within the final few metres, mopping up with Scott, and the finish this time from the flanker.
Yeah, and I say Carl had a good game and deserved his try. Worked hard, more so in defence than in attack. He was a good sort of foil for Watsonians, but so good counter attack, spread the ball, and unfortunately for the Knights it was a missed tackle that led to the Berg break, but just shows good hard running, good bit of impetus, and it was a good finish.
And you know, again, a lot of heart shown by these Southern Knights players. Jamie Campbell with the tap and go. The ball works its way out to Struan Cessford. No sign of a celebration from the replacement front row forward, as you could see Campbell, how close he was. Again, soft hands, little offload there from Demerel. Another replacement in this second half, and Cessford from close quarters finishing things off. Scant consolation in the end for the Knights.
Yeah, that's it. It's just nice hands and good line, just creating that one-on-one tackle on the line, which is what you want to do in this area. Lots of picks and goes and scoops, but you're getting double hits a lot of the time, so to spread it a wee bit wider, get on that edge and create that one-on-one, it's going to be hard to stop somebody with a bit of momentum on the line from there, especially the size of him.
On the try converted to complete Southern Knights scoring. They're 12 points, 36 points to 12 then the final score. And that was David Colvin with delivering the final lines of the script this afternoon. 36 points to 12, as we mentioned at the scoreline. So there is the completed results from the opening weekend. Round 1 of the FOSROC Super 6 tournament in 2022. Ayrshire Bulls on Friday night, 33-17 winners over Heriots. Made to work very hard by the Golden Acre side, but the champions off and running with a home victory. Then earlier on this afternoon, Boroughmuir Bears coming good up at Bridgehoch, 27 points to 10 winners over Stirling Wolves. And as you've just been watching, Southern Knights 12, Watsonians Rugby 36. So not only the champions from last season off and running, but the sprint champions as well. There is how it affects the league table. Bulls and Watsonians Rugby with maximum points, getting the try bonuses in their respective games. A win nonetheless for Boroughmuir Bears, and Southern Knights, Stirling Wolves and Heriots Rugby all still looking for their first points of the season after the opening weekend. And of course we mentioned the games coming thick and fast. Southern Knights then back on home soil against Boroughmuir Bears. Graham Shields' side, of course, Graham himself very familiar with the Greenyards, and he'll be delighted to get such a good start after tending to chase during the previous Super 6 matches he's played in and competitions he's played in, coming stronger towards the end than perhaps at the beginning. Watsonians against Ayrshire Bulls is going to be a very tasty encounter at Myerside, the 2 o'clock game next Saturday afternoon, with both sides on song and both sides getting maximum points. And Stirling Wolves against Heriots as well. Stirling looking to bounce back, and Heriots also away from home for the second successive week will want a better performance away from home and try and get some points on the board to lift themselves away from the danger area even this early in the competition. Here's our final glimpse of the North Eildon for this Saturday afternoon, as the spectators, many of them staying around to have a chat with one or two of the Southern Knights and Watsonians players. But it'll be a case of heading home. But just a final word, Rory, on those fixtures coming up next weekend. That middle one, Watsonians, Ayrshire Bulls, even at this early stage in the season, that's going to be a tasty affair. Yeah,
you say they're probably two of the favourites for the league, so it's going to be a great sort of taster to see who's got the upper hand early on in the season. So looking forward to see who comes out on top of that, but it will be a very tasty battle indeed. Well, Watsonians made their way out of the congestion of Edinburgh and the festival down to the Scottish borders this afternoon, looking to continue their fine form during 2022, and they produced a try-bonus victory against the Southern Knights, winning by 36 points to 12 to get their campaign off and running. As we mentioned, they'll be up against a buoyant Ayrshire Bulls side next weekend. We'll look forward to bringing you that, plus the other fixtures in round 2 of the FOSROC Super 6 competition. But from me, Stuart McFarlane, and from Ruaridh Jackson, thank you very much for watching.